crowded and lots of expectation, rightly so. Fellow leaders, excellencies, distinguished friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is a huge honor for us to welcome you all here in Brussels for the very first edition of the Global Gateway Forum, and to our special guests who have come from so far. I would like to express all my thanks that you made this journey. It's wonderful to have you here. The poet and statesman Johann Wolfgang von Goethe wrote in one of his great works, he who moves not forward goes backward. And so often, Goethe was right. We're here to move forward together. Because in the recent years, it has often felt like the world has taken a step back. We know that 18 days ago, a heinous attack by Hamas on Israel has triggered even more conflict and suffering in the region. Russia is waging an imperial war of aggression against its smaller democratic neighbor, Ukraine. We are in a climate crisis. We are still recovering from a pandemic that ravaged lives, livelihoods, and trade. These are great challenges that affect us all and demand our cooperation. The fate of present and future generations depends on more than before on the quality and the quantity of the infrastructure that connects us all. Investment in affordable clean energy, investment in digital infrastructure, investment to better equip our workers with skills that match the jobs of tomorrow. And that is why Team Europe has put forward Europe's largest global investment program ever. As you know, we call it Global Gateway. It's a 300 billion euro program for financing and building clean infrastructure. And Global Gateway has the size to make a difference. Global Gateway, just as importantly, lays out a new approach to big infrastructure projects. For us, it's important that Global Gateway is about giving choices to countries, better choices. Because for many countries around the world, investment options are not only limited, but they all come with a lot of small print and sometimes with a very high price. Sometimes it is the environment that pays the price. Sometimes it is workers who are stripped of their rights. Sometimes foreign workers are brought in. And sometimes national sovereignty is compromised. No country should be faced with a situation in which the only option to finance its essential infrastructure is to sell its future. We in Europe have a clear strategic interest to join forces at eyes level to overcome global challenges. And there are global challenges: a virus that knows no border, climate change knows no border. The same is true for the impact of terrorism and war. We know that our security is built on your security, and vice versa. Our competitiveness increases when your economies grow and prosper. Our resilience is stronger when you, our friends, are also more resilient. Then we will all win. And that's why Europe has chosen to work closer with our partners. And 2 years since we have launched Global Gateway, we're seeing the positive results. So let me share with you some stories of the impact. This year's Nobel Prize winner in medicine was awarded to Katalin Karikó and Drew Weissman for their discoveries of mRNA vaccines. back in the 1990s, these pioneering scientists had a difficult time finding money for their research. We all know the stories. 2 decades later, their work helped to develop safe and effective vaccines against COVID-19 in record time. And it saved millions of lives around the world. It was in this hour of need that Global Gateway was born. Because despite the success of mRNA vaccines, many regions of the world did not yet have access to the life-saving technology. So, following the call from African leaders, the European Commission and Team Europe got together with world-leading companies like BioNTech and Universals and others. We teamed up with Ghana, Rwanda, Senegal, South Africa to build the first vaccine manufacturing capacity on the continent. And to date, we have already mobilized 1.2 billion euros. The modular factories have already arrived in Rwanda to help produce mRNA vaccines. And it's not only about just COVID-19 vaccines. The amazing thing about mRNA technology is that it promises to effectively fight illnesses that, and you know them all, are endemic to Africa, like killing millions of people, such as malaria, tuberculosis, or HIV. Vaccine manufacturing was Global Gateway's first flagship project, but there are, of course, many more. This year alone, our work has focused on nearly 90 flagship projects. For example, we launched a partnership with our friends in Latin America and the Caribbean, who also want to team up on vaccines and medicines. In Mexico, we saw key investments from Sanofi to produce influenza vaccines. In Bangladesh and Vietnam, we've launched projects on solar, offshore wind, and hydropower worth over 1 billion euros together. We're laying fiber optic internet cables under the Black Sea to Georgia and Central Asia. And we're connecting railways and electricity grids in the Western Balkans, Moldova, and Ukraine to bring them closer to our single market. Over the next 24 hours, we'll have announcements and signatures running into hundreds of millions of euros. So far, since we launched Global Gateway in 2021, the European Union has already committed to 66 billion euros to transformative projects. And almost half of this are grants that do not have to be paid back. And this is from our EU budget alone, very important. On top come member states and private finance. So there is still much to do, but we can already say today Global Gateway is delivering. My second point is climate change. Climate change causes tremendous instability and suffering, but it is also an economic opportunity if we do it right. So we made clean tech and clean energy a priority of Global Gateway investments. More and more, developing economies are joining the clean energy race. I'm very glad about this. I saw this firsthand when I visited Nairobi for the Africa Climate Summit. I must say I was deeply impressed and inspired by the confidence and the optimism of my counterparts. They said very clearly they want to leapfrog into a clean energy future while industrializing and creating good jobs for their people. They want to grow their economy while protecting the green lungs of the world. They have huge potential to do that. Renewable energy and clean hydrogen, critical raw materials, rich biodiversity, a young workforce, So developing countries can be a crucial part of the solution to climate change. And we Europeans can diversify and strengthen our supply chains in those growing, dynamic new markets. That's why Global Gateway investment works. They are demand-driven, and they are a win-win for all partners involved. Today, we will announce new deals on critical raw materials with the Democratic Republic of Congo and Zambia. Together, we are building the Trans-African Corridor, which will connect southern DRC and northern Zambia to global markets via the port of Lobito in Angola. We're also building strategic economic corridors in southern Africa, connecting the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean. Namibia, for example, is set to become a regional and global energy hub. So together we are teaming up with the European Investment Bank to turn Namibia's abundant wind and solar resources into plentiful renewable energy. It's an attractive business plan that's so interesting that countries from Colombia to Mauritania and Kazakhstan are working with us on similar projects. On the one hand, clean hydrogen can be easily exported to other countries. And on the other hand, and crucially, clean hydrogen can also fuel new local industry in our partner countries. So just imagine clean steel and concrete, or clean fertilizers and chemicals, clean trains and ships. The world is asking for that. So this is how we together, if we do it right and if we work hard, can become global leaders in the clean industries of tomorrow. And this brings me to my third point. The private sector can and must play a key role in improving speed, scale, and impact of global gateway investments. We need the private sector. And that's why close cooperation with business is one very important pillar of Global Gateway. We are mobilizing the financial firepower of Europe's leading companies. The magic is in its public-private teamwork through public funds, then training and enabling regulation, a conducive environment for the private sector, so that we can provide the long-term predictability that private investors need to start ambitious projects. Let me give you an example for an ambitious project, like, for example, the Medusa project, which we are also announcing today with Egypt. Here, for the very first time, we're connecting the north and the south shores of the Mediterranean with a high-capacity fiber optic cable. But we also need to ask ourselves, how can we do more together? What have we learned so far? What do we need to prioritize to be even faster, go even bigger, and have even more impact? These are questions I would like to discuss the next 2 days with you. Because you know that many of our projects are just taking off, and you know where the challenges are, but also where the advantages are. We are determined to overcome any kind of hurdle that is in our way. We can do it together. We join forces, we can move mountains and succeed. And therefore, your input and your advice is so important for us. Dear friends, the poem by Goethe that I quoted at the start of my speech is also about profound challenges and changes. The poem was created once in a small German town, surrounded by the wars of the French Revolution, but it is not a story of despair. No. It is a tale of hope. Because in the end, it is a tale of ordinary women and men from across borders, overcome their differences and work together. They move forward, not backwards. This too is our mission today. And I continue to look forward to working more closely with all of you to shape a better tomorrow. And I thank you for your presence here. Thank you very much to be at the Global Gateway Forum.